guys, and welcome back to an episode of Off the Shelf. I am your host, Ronan Time HD, and this week, what we found off the shelf was...
Give or take a few thousand. I figured the loot on this deal at $2 million. There should be that much in the track offices.
You've been talking, now you spilled to her.
I didn't, honest. What, do you think I'm crazy? I wouldn't...
Jerk, you clown! Come on, clown, sing us a chorus from Pagliacci.
Hey, where's the jerk? Where's George?
The Killing, released in 1956. It was directed and partly written by Stanley Kubrick, which related to Stanley Kubrick, this is his third ever feature-length motion picture. It is, well, so it's kind of confusing. So the screenplay, I assume, was written by Kubrick, but then the dialogue was written by Jim Thompson, another noir crime writer. But then this was actually based on a book by Lionel White called Clean Break, which obviously then that means the story was done by Lionel White. So there's a lot of different writing credits on that, right? This film was also produced by, I think it was James Harris, I believe that was his name. Starring Sterling Hayden, Mary Windsor, who actually steals the movie. Her character is the best character in the movie. I'll get into that later. And I think I'm pronouncing this correctly. Elisha Cook Jr., or is it Elisha? Probably Elisha. It's probably Elisha Cook Jr. It's a weird name. I've never heard of it before. Sorry. Sorry if anybody has that name out there and I butchered it. He doesn't care. He's dead. Either way, this film is just like a heist crime noir film, like a bit of a drama, maybe a bit of a thriller, an early one. Although I do think this film... Well, I'm just going to jump straight into... Before I jump into the stuff I really liked, I just want to, kind of make a little small tidbits here. So, when this film came out, people did not like it, right? It was it didn't do well in the box office. General audiences just weren't a huge fan of it. But critics loved it, right? Because it is very well made. Being a Kubrick, even though it's an early Kubrick, it's still a Kubrick, right? And I think one of the big tells of me... I mean, obviously, since general audiences didn't like it, and now it's maybe a bit of a cult classic these days, it is very ahead of its time in its editing. It's a non-linear story. So essentially what happens is, during the heist, the actual heist part of the movie, before there's, the planning stuff, but then when they actually get to the big chunk of the middle of the movie where they do the heist, they show each individual member of the crew what they were doing at the same time. So they'll show their story, and then they'll go back to the beginning, show this person's story, and then that'll end, they go back, show that person's part of the story, and so on and so forth. And I think at the time, obviously that's really commonplace these days. These days people call that Tarantino it, even though obviously Tarantino really only popularized it in bigger movies. He just took it from all the other popular directors who were doing it decades before him. An example, Kubrick in this film. And as I said, it's great, right? Because it's different. And I think it actually tells the story better because, I don't know, I like nonlinear storytelling, but of course at the time people thought it was confusing, right? Which I guess for maybe 1956 audiences, maybe it was, because it was a little unconventional. However, I just think overall, I like maybe not the mystery. I kind of like, I guess, the build-up to the heist and the aftermath of the heist. I like the pre-planning. I do like how there are a lot of tropes here. I do like how, they're the mob guys, right? They're mob guys trying to put it together. But the mob guys, they all talk the stereotypical 50s mob guys. They talk like this, see? Maybe not with that heavy of an accent, but they talk with that a stereotypical mobster accent from that time. Which I thought was entertaining. And talking about entertaining, let's talk about, I think her name was Sherry, Mary Windsor's character, and she is the funniest character in the movie. She's, so sarcastic. She's very, snappy, and she's, the worst, right? Because she's the reason that everything, oh, I mean, really, George is the reason everything goes to shit, because he decided to tell her about what he was doing. But she also caused it with telling, another guy who she was cheating on George with, and then he also ruined shit, but it was because of George telling her. But even though she's the worst, that's what makes her entertaining, right? Is just because, I don't know, she's different from all the other characters. Like, all the other characters, like, play it straight. There are no, like, really any jokes with the other characters, but she's the one telling basically all the jokes, and they usually always land, because she's just a fun character, right? And I don't know. I just also think Mary Windsor just she did steal the show. She was just really acting her heart out in this movie to be, kind of a selfish bad bitch, I guess is a good way to describe it, right? And I love her for that. She's great in this movie. Just like a little tidbit, I really liked her. However, the rest of the movie, I don't know. It's like, I don't know what much else there is to say. I do think I found it funny how apparently there was like a cinematographer union that told Kubrick that he couldn't direct the movie and be the director of cinematography for whatever reason. I'm not sure. So they had him get this guy, I think his name was Lucien Ballard. I believe that was his name. He was a very respected cinematographer, and apparently Kubrick had respected his work, so that's why he hired him. However, they apparently butted heads all the fucking time. Like, apparently, they could not agree on anything. Apparently, they had so many disagreements that they didn't even like being in the same room when they didn't have to be, right? Which is pretty bad, especially if both members of the crew are that integral to the filmmaking process. Apparently, like, Lucien would not listen to Stanley Kubrick's directing choices, and he would, like, basically do his own thing, because obviously he's the pro, right? So he thinks he knows what's best, but Kubrick wants something a certain way, so they would just butt heads on that all the time, and I thought that was interesting. Obviously, also, this being a Kubrick, but it's an early one, so obviously his style there's still, like, elements of his style there, but it's early, so obviously it hasn't fully developed yet. Like, this ain't fucking Clockwork Orange, right? It's way after this, way after he'd fully developed his style. But I still feel like it still has that quality. I really think this this was like the movie that catapulted him to success, though, right? Because I think without this movie, even though it didn't really do well in the box office, critics loved it. Apparently, I think some critics put it in their top 10 of the year, which is pretty good. Right? It was, like, really, like, they were raving about it. And I think this movie, from my research, is what put him on the map, like, at least in the underground sense. Like, this is, like, when movie buffs started talking about, like, up-and-coming directors, he was starting to get into that conversation with this movie. Right? Obviously, his first movie wasn't going to start turning heads. He had to make a couple movies, and this one stuck with the general, I guess, filming zeitgeist. So I guess we can thank that movie for probably one of the greatest directors to ever live. I don't think that's a controversial statement to say. But yeah, overall, I just thought it was a very fun and enjoyable movie all the way around. I also think the ending really shocked me. Definitely not what I expected. I mean, obviously, what I expected is for, like in every heist movie, for the plan to go wrong, right? Usually in heist movies, the plan goes awry, like somebody isn't on their mark or somebody isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing, and or like a freak accident happens and something goes wrong. But no, the plan actually went off pretty well, pretty much without a hitch, right? Except for one of their guys getting killed, but he was just like an exterior guy that wasn't even really, he was just like an external guy that he paid to do one thing. So him dying didn't even really matter because he had already paid him his flat fee beforehand. But then, after that, so obviously they had to split up and then meet back up at a meetup point. And, like, the crew was there, and George was there. George was there, but everybody else was there. But Sterling's character, Johnny, he wasn't there yet because he was late. Because of, I think they said it was, like, busy. The streets were busy and, like, it was chaotic, so he didn't he couldn't get there on time. But then eventually, as I mentioned earlier, Mary Windsor's, like, boyfriend had came in because she told him about it, so he wanted all the dough, right? He wanted all the money to steal it from them. So he was like, oh, we're gonna wait here. You all are gonna stay here. We're gonna wait for Johnny to get here. And we're gonna take the money, right? But then out of fucking nowhere, where George was just like in the other room, he just came in and shot both of them. Right? But then him in doing that, the guy, after getting shot, he like blind fired his shotgun and killed the entire crew and also shot George. Right? So literally like that, they're all dead. Which was very shocking to me. I mean, I expected maybe some of them to die, but not all at once. I thought it would be like most heist movies. They like sometimes they get picked off one by one, but no, they all died all at once, which is really crazy. And it's really funny because then they show Johnny Sterling's character. They show his perspective, and it's just like George like stumbling out of the door and into his car, and he's like, "Yeah, you know what? I'm probably just gonna keep driving." I just thought that was pretty entertaining. And then obviously they conclude the George and Sherry subplot with, George taking care of Sherry. Well, not taking care of her. He kills her due to basically her manipulating him the whole movie just for her to get money, right, off the heist. So I think in that moment he realizes it, he kills her, and then he, like, literally immediately dies right afterwards. The only person left living the only thing left living in that apartment was a parrot. Either way, that really surprised me. I didn't see any of that coming, and I'm not going to just go verbatim the rest of the ending, but apparently, from what I heard, they changed the whole ending from the book, the clean break ending. Apparently had Johnny, the Sterling, the main character, he had died, probably similarly to how the rest of the guys died earlier that I had described, but instead they had him had a whole different ending where he doesn't die, but instead he gets arrested. Right, which I guess is better than dead, right? But still, the plan didn't go to plan, and it all got fucked up, all because of George, stupid George. Fucking people with George, never trust a George. George people are untrustworthy, I guess. Either way, but I've just kind of been rambling. I think maybe I could get on to my final verdict here. Would I recommend this movie? Yeah, I think it's an enjoyable, fun time. I mean, obviously, it's not like the best Kubrick or anything, but it's still good, right? And I think there's a lot of enjoyment to be had if you're a fan of like heist movies, crime, noir films, especially of this era. It's very enjoyable. And with that being said, I think I would rate this film a 7 out of 10. And yeah, I think I've said what I say. I think I've said my piece. So guys, I hope you all like this video. Share it with friends. Subscribe. Turn those notifications on. Comment down below on how much you liked it. And I'm Tom HD. Off to pull off a caper. So I was watching this movie, right? And there was a special feature on the disc. And it was the producer. He was talking about how I had mentioned earlier that obviously people didn't like it, right? General audiences were not a huge fan of it. And obviously early test screenings that they had done, they didn't like it either, right? And they thought, as I said earlier, they thought it was confusing, right? And the nonlinear storytelling they didn't like it. So originally they were going to edit the film to have it be more linear, to have it be more direct. But they edited it and they're like, what the fuck, this is terrible. Like, this isn't the reason we made this movie. Like, what the fuck is this? So then they just decided, fuck it. Like, we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna accommodate for people who don't understand the movie. We're just gonna make the movie how we want to make it, and the people who understand it, and the people who don't, they just don't understand it, right? And I think that's a pretty bold choice, and I think in the long run it ended up working pretty damn well, because I mean, as I said, critics loved it, and they were raving about it and how great it was, and I think if they had just edited it to make it more simple, maybe the critics wouldn't have praised it that much. They probably wouldn't have, because it wasn't as, I guess, daring in its editing choices at the time. And I think that is an interesting little factoid.